plenary session titled Towards Economic Empowerment, Women Financial Inclusion in Pakistan. This evening plenary brings together a remarkable panel of experts, trailblazers, leaders, and advocates to discuss a matter that resonates deeply across our society. Women financial inclusion is not only just a development priority, it's a catalyst for social and economic transformation. We aim to explore the multifaceted impact of financial inclusion, literacy, and digital access on empowering women, especially within the framework and beyond of social protection. The gender gap in financial inclusion is more than a gap in banking access. It highlights deep-rooted societal barriers that hinders women participation, particularly for those in rural areas. These challenges are diverse and span across cultural, social, educational, and infrastructural domains, creating an urgent need for holistic, inclusive strategies. With this in mind, it is my distinct honor to introduce our esteemed panel of speakers who bring a wealth of knowledge, passion, and expertise to today's discussion. Each has made significant contribution to advancing the women empowerment and financial inclusion agenda. Please join me in welcoming our distinguished panelists. We today have the gracious presence of Mr. Amir Ali Ahmed, Secretary Benazir Income Support Program, as chief guest of the plenary. I welcome you to the session, sir. We also have the kind presence of Ms. Helene Post, the Deputy Head of Development Corporation, German Embassy, as keynote speaker of the plenary. Welcome, ma'am. We are joined by Ms. Maria Jose Pode, the Country Director, GIZ Pakistan, as distinguished speaker for closing remarks. Ma'am, welcome to the session. We have the pleasure of the company of Mr. Salimullah, Deputy Governor, State Bank of Pakistan, as distinguished panelist. So welcome. We have with us today Mr. Murtaza Ali, the President, Jazz Cash, as distinguished panelist. So welcome. We will be joined in few minutes by Ms. Roshane Zafar online, the founder and the managing director, Kashaf Foundation, Pakistan, as a distinguished panelist. We also have with us the pleasure of the company of Mr. Ali Shehzad, the Chief Executive Officer, Punjab Social Protection Authority, PSPA, as a distinguished speaker. Welcome to the plenary, sir. We have the plenary organizer and also the head of Adaptive Social Protection Project at GIC, Ms. Joanna Knows. Welcome. And we also have Mr. Frank Schneider, Senior Policy Advisor, GIZ, who will be co-moderating the session with me today. Welcome to the plenary. Last but not the least, Dr. Abid Qiyum Suleri, Executive Director, STPI, will be present here for remarks from STPI. I would now like to invite Mr. Amir Ali Ahmed, Secretary BISP Income Support Program, to open the plenary session with his remarks.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, let me appreciate and let me thank STPI for organizing this event. And as I walked in, I was impressed by the vigor and the enthusiasm I saw amongst the participants and everyone attending the event. Well done and keep it up. This is something that should continue because it is this exchange of ideas that eventually evolves and leads us to solutions. And this is why that we have gathered here. The role of women and financial inclusion is pivotal as far as social protection or any income support initiative is concerned. In the social fabric of Pakistan, this role is complex and has a lot of challenges. These challenges are both societal as well as practical, and in turn, both of these challenges are overlapping and intertwined. One cannot overemphasize the significance of women in the social protection paradigm. Allow me to say that economic empowerment of the society is contingent on financial inclusion of women. And a corollary to this is social empowerment of women. At this juncture, I would like to mention the role and design of Benazir Income Support Program and share how this intervention is working for various goals of social protection. BISP is a rupees 598 billion social protection intervention through income support. This is around 2.15 billion US dollars. There are two core interventions: unconditional cash transfer, which we refer to as the Kafalat program, and then there is the conditional cash transfer, known as the, we have two initiatives, Talimi Wazaif and Nashonama, for education and health. There are 9.3 million families who are receiving this income support, thus catering for nearly 56 million Pakistanis. Basically, this is 24% of the population and covering more than 80% of the bottom two quintiles. I'll not be getting further into the details and mechanics of BISP. I shall be focusing primarily on the role of women and financial inclusion aspect of Benazir Income Support Program. Ladies and gentlemen, income support covering this population segment of 56 million is channelized through women representatives of each family. This is a watershed and huge step towards financial inclusion and empowerment of women. With women as primary beneficiaries, BISP transferred funds directly to their limited mandate accounts, not only for immediate household support, but also to strengthen their financial decision-making roles. Connecting women to digital financial services encourages their active participation in economic activities that help stabilize their families and communities. Access to financial resources is not only a lifeline, but also a path to empowerment and independence. For many women in this program, who under the BISP philosophy are recognized as heads of the family, BISP is their first and perhaps only connection to financial institutions. BISP is not just about financial assistance. It is about recognizing the crucial role women play in sustaining their families and communities. By enabling women to take control of their finances, this leads to giving them a say in household decision-making and reaffirm their status as economic pillars of their families. I would specifically like to mention the Health and Nutrition Initiative under BISP that has been designed and being implemented with focus on financial inclusion of women. According to WHO, high levels of stunting and anemia among women and children impede their long-term health and economic potential. By alleviating malnutrition-related burdens, Nashonama, this is our health and nutrition initiative, empowers mothers, enabling them to focus on their family's financial and social well-being rather than constant health concerns. This health support program is then linked with conditional cash transfer model, thereby incentivizing not just women, but the whole family to create an enabling environment for women to engage with formal financial institutions and channels. Through quarterly cash benefit tied with health compliance, such as immunization and behavioral change initiatives, Nashonama encourages regular financial interactions, fostering financial autonomy. As women access funds independently through biometrically verified mechanisms, they gain familiarity and confidence in digital financial tools, a foundational step towards financial inclusion. Good health is foundational to economic empowerment. With this spirit, recently, Nashonama has extended support to adolescent girls in partnership with KfW Bank of Germany, emphasizing the importance of long-term health and generational impact. Financial empowerment also depends on payment models. We are lucky to have the Deputy Governor, State Bank, sitting here with us, Mr. Salimullah. We have been in close liaison with him to develop the latest model that we would be piloting, hopefully, in the first quarter of next year. Over the year, BISP has experimented with various payment models. It started off with the post office, then evolved towards sort of a single bank model, and now recently, in fact, we are introducing it now. Our first tranche is being rolled out to a six-bank model, which ensures competition, lesser cost, and improved outreach. However, as I mentioned, we are not stopping here, and we are looking towards piloting the model that I just mentioned, which is a beneficiary-centric payment model where the choice would vest with the beneficiary. And ladies and gentlemen, let me reiterate, in our case, the beneficiary or the 56 million people who would eventually be benefiting is the female head of the family. As part of our commitment to economic empowerment, last year, we launched the Digital and Financial Literacy Training Program in partnership with GIZ and UNICEF. This program has a goal of training 250,000 beneficiaries, with 25,000 already trained. Ladies and gentlemen, in the end, let me thank you all for giving this opportunity, and let me thank Dr. Abid Suleri in particular for creating this healthy environment where we can exchange ideas. It is a tremendous initiative, Dr. Saab, and well done for this. It's really something that should be carried on, should be continued. I understand that the workshop was started last year, and I hope this would be continued. Let me assure you that BISP would like to be an active partner in that. As I said earlier, that it is this exchange of ideas that leads us towards achieving our goal, which is social protection, financial inclusion, and empowerment. Empowerment of not just women, but every individual who is facing economic challenges. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amir Ali Ahmed, Secretary, Benazir Income Support Program, for highlighting the holistic initiatives of BISP and leading the social protection agenda in Pakistan. I would now like to invite Ms. Helene Post, the Deputy Head of Development Cooperation, German Embassy, as the keynote speaker of the plenary. Ma'am, please welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the German Embassy, it's an honor for me to welcome you all to this plenary session on women financial inclusion in Pakistan. The topic of this session resonates very well with the priorities of the German government, especially its feminist focus. Feminist development policy is guided by a vision of just world in which all people can participate as equals. It is aimed at eliminating the structural causes of inequality. More specifically, the focus of our feminist development policy is on overcoming gender inequality, as women and girls are the largest group in society facing discrimination. The German Development Corporation is very serious about this. By 2025, 93% of newly committed projects funds will support gender equality. This underlines the fact that gender inequality matters greatly when it comes to money. But let us be clear about the challenge. Worldwide, more than 1 billion women have no access to financial services. In Pakistan, access to financial services is very low in general, but especially for women. As a consequence, the ability for women to independently maintain money, spend money, conduct transactions, and get paid for their labor, and to control their financial resources is severely compromised because their engagement with formal banking channels is mostly through male household members. This is not an isolated issue. It has implications for the society overall. Financial inclusion is negatively associated with women empowerment. 94% of women who did not have access to financial services have multi-dimensional social exclusion. In other words, these women are excluded from education, employment, and other dimensions of life. But when it even comes more striking are the missing opportunities resulting from low financial inclusion. Studies show that the economic empowerment of women has a great multiplier effect. Women receive 90% of their income compared with 35% of men in their families and communities, for example, by financing healthcare or nutrition and education for their children. We also know from comprehensive research that 13 out of the 17 UN sustainability goals are dependent on the achievement of the financial inclusion. As SDPI rightly analyzed, one of the most critical factors regarding financial inclusion in Pakistan is the widespread lack of financial literacy among women. Without basic financial literacy, women cannot be expected to understand or fully utilize financial services. Hence, I'm very supportive of these current efforts to enhance women's financial inclusion in Pakistan. As an example for our engagement, the Digital Financial Literacy Program, an initiative of the German government implemented by GIZ in collaboration with UNICEF and SDPI, integrates financial inclusion with digital literacy and climate action initiatives. We are particularly excited about our cooperation with the Benazir Income Support Program, the cornerstone of Pakistan's social protection landscape, to provide financial literacy trainings to 250,000 of its female recipients under the end of December 2024. I'm therefore particularly grateful to Mr. Ami Ala Ahmad, Secretary of BIS, of our long-standing partnership and his personal commitment towards the financial inclusion and literacy of BIS recipients. We very much hope that this is the beginning of more comprehensive efforts to enhance women's financial inclusion in Pakistan. We are eagerly awaiting SDPI's scientific evaluation of this exercise that the Benazir Income Support Program intends to implement the financial inclusion trainings on a more permanent basis. I firmly believe that this additional step can be taken soon for Pakistan to enhance women's financial inclusion. Digital technologies have a potential to be a silver bullet. There is a lot of data that shows that when technology is available for women and they are trained and empowered, women are more willing than men to choose a digital finance service. The rapid adoption of digital payment apps such as EasyPayza and JazzCash highlights this potential, as these platforms enable anyone with a mobile phone to access financial services. This represents a critical opportunity for Pakistan's non-banked and underbanked population. As we consider the future and the financial inclusion for women in Pakistan, there are numerous opportunities for the continued collaboration in this field in Pakistan for a more inclusive and equitable financial system. I hope that this event enables us to chart a path forward, identifying opportunities for impactful partnership. We would be excited to be part of this journey. By placing women at the center of our action in their important role as knowledge bearers and decision makers, we will jointly continue towards a more stable and just society. Thank you very much. Shukriya.
Thank you very much, Ms. Helene Post, for giving a detailed overview of the GIZ and German Development Corporation initiatives and how financial inclusion, financial literacy, and digital literacy takes a center stage in the agenda. Now, I would like to move on to our first panelist, Ms. Roshane Zafar, as she has another commitment. If Ms. Roshane Zafar, is she online? So we would be taking her. Okay. Okay. So then I would like to invite Ms. Joanna Knoss, the Head of Adaptive Social Protection at GIZ, for giving a scene-setting presentation about the initiatives of GIZ and German Development Corporation. So Ms. Helena Post has another commitment and she has to leave. the debate on the financial inclusion of women will go on. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your kind participation. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I think I've had the honor now to hear Mrs. Helene Paus as well as the Secretary Bisp's opening remarks, and you all know what this whole session is about. So I'm just going to concretize that a little bit more before the distinguished panelists then also all speak here today. Thank you. So I've been asked by Dr. Fariha to do a scene-setting presentation. What's the case for financial inclusion? I think, as we've heard now in the discussion today, there is an ample case for financial inclusion here in Pakistan and worldwide. And there's also incredible evidence that financial inclusion of women helps to achieve our developmental goals. It helps to reduce poverty around the globe. It also boosts economic growth. And it also, very important for us as German Development Corporation, is a key element in empowering women and young girls. And I'm speaking here on behalf of an adaptive social protection program, which links social protection to climate change and disaster risk management. So for us, it's also a key avenue to ensure that women and people and households are alerted sooner in times of crisis and receive more support in cases of climate-induced risks. So we see, for example, thank you very much. We see, for example, that in Africa, in Kenya, there is ample evidence that 194,000 households were alleviated out of poverty due to the mobile money wallet of M-Pesa. We also have studies from Southern Africa, Kenya, Nepal, to see that they have increased resilience. Now let's look at Pakistan next. So I would say there has been significant progress, albeit not enough. Since 2017 till now, there has been an increase in financial inclusion of women and men, but the inclusion of women is far less than those of men, as you can see here from the figures. We have 13% for female and 28% for male, so still much more needs to be done to include more women in the formal banking sector. Then we have another important element, especially here in Pakistan, as all of you have probably heard. There's Easy Pesa and JazzCash, so the mobile money wallets. And even there, even though it doesn't allow all the functions of a formal bank account, we haven't used the potential enough, because Pakistan actually has a saturation of 80% for mobile phones, but the amount of people that have mobile wallets is far beyond that. So we really hope that that is a strong business case for expanding work on mobile money wallets. So maybe just to summarize a few key points of what does the landscape look like here on women's financial inclusion in Pakistan. It still has a significant gender gap in financial access. Less women have access to formal accounts than men. Less women have access to mobile money wallet account that would allow them to do much more. And the reasons include very low financial literacy. That's why we're very happy to partner with BISP on a financial literacy campaign together with UNICEF and the SDPI. The high service costs, distance to institutions and to banks, insufficient documentation, distrust in financial institutions, and also social norms and religious pressure. So a majority of the population today do not have access to any of these financial services. I think that number also plays an important role when we look at the Global Gender Gap Index, where Pakistan unfortunately ranks second worst on multidimensional poverty. And Pakistan unfortunately also ranks very high on the Climate Vulnerability Index. And here we believe that financial exclusion of women also plays an important role in worsening the situation. If more women were financially included, we could support them quicker, faster, through various instruments, including direct government-to-person payments. So Germany's engagement on social protection here in Pakistan has been very strong and steady, and we've partnered with a lot of our partners, including BISP, the Punjab Social Protection Authority, and many more. And we've expanded recently since last year to link our work on social protection to climate change and disaster risk management. And we hope to then achieve more on building resilience in climate vulnerability, ensuring gender equality, supporting poverty alleviation, and fostering digitalization and innovation. So that is why I'm standing here today together with my colleagues and with Dr. Fariha, and think that this session is very important for our work in the future, because adaptive social protection is uniquely situated to reach out and embed all these elements and bring them together in a more coherent, integrated manner. So adaptive social protection might not be known to all of you. So it is basically supporting people during, after, and before a climate calamity hits. And why is financial inclusion important for adaptive social protection? Because with anticipatory action that we've discussed a lot now here in Pakistan and many other forums, it's about reaching people quickly before a flood hits them. And you can do that best if they actually have a mobile phone that also allows them to receive cash. So if you have cash before you know that your house is being flooded, you can do much more to protect yourself and your family. And it also, when you are poor and you need direct transactions from the government, such as from BISP or any other provincial social protection authorities, we've unfortunately seen and experienced that a lot of those funds, do not get fast enough or directly enough to the beneficiaries. So direct government-to-person payments allows less fraud and more efficiency in those payments. And a very important element for us is also building resilience. If women and families have access to loans, to products, such as insurances, they will be better prepared and equipped for the next shock, which unfortunately is here to come. So I just want to spend quite a bit of time now on our digital financial literacy work. As you've heard from Secretary BISP, we're in the lucky position to have partnered with BISP and with UNICEF and SDPI on this very encouraging initiative, where we want to set the first stepping stone for more financial inclusion, where we're working together to provide digital and financial literacy to women receiving BISP benefits. We've piloted this initiative end of last year, and we're currently rolling out this program and hoping to achieve 250 beneficiaries by the end of this year, but that's not the end of the journey for us. So with BISP, UNICEF, and SDPI, we're rolling out this program throughout Pakistan, and we have linked the messaging on financial literacy with climate messages, as well as messages on gender and other important topics such as nutrition, or also early registration, birth registration. We really believe that it's important to find as many avenues as possible and have integrated messages. So digital financial literacy is a first important step in towards financial inclusion. So I would very much like to say that we have jointly with Dr. Fariha and SDPI handpicked this very prestigious panel here. Why did we do that? We did that because we very much hope that we can work with you, Deputy Governor for State Bank, as well as President Jas Kash, as well as with you, continue to work with you, Secretary BISP, as well as CEO Punjab Social Protection Authority, to develop further joint policy options to bring this digital financial literacy to the next step. So once these women know what they can do, it's also important to give them the means to do it. Otherwise, it's in vain. So we really hope that they will have access to formal bank accounts, as well as money wallets, that we really, invest in public-private partnerships, that we use Jas Kash and others to, further broaden the scope of work that we cannot do as just public entity. We believe that, public-private partnerships are key here. We also believe that the Kasha Foundation, who's going to be speaking right after me, also shows us what can be done with microloans, credits. They've been working here for many years here in Pakistan. We'll hear from them. And we also hope that we can link projects. We've heard earlier, we've just launched a new initiative with BISP and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation about adolescent girls. So using them as change agents for improved nutrition. We're thinking we might, use that avenue and also reach out to those girls to also know more about financial literacy from the get-go, explain it to their sisters, to their mothers, to their grandmothers. I'm half Ethiopian. I know that I have that task, for example, when I'm in my family in Ethiopia. So, helping others to understand what you know is something that you can do when you're a young girl. So ensuring that we use that and, start very early. So then the next and last slide here is, please, all of you here in this room, try to see which initiatives you already might have and try to see if you can include messaging on financial literacy in those campaigns and in that work, whether it's in the area of health, agriculture, or anything else. I think using all the avenues that are at our disposal is key to reach the women here in Pakistan and to broaden the knowledge of financial products that are out there and making an inclusive insurance or inclusive financial products that are targeted and really designed for women. That's that from my side. Thank you very much. I will now hand over and thank you very much. Oh, the video. Yes, Dr. Fariha just reminded me that we have a video that we would like to show you. Could you please play the video? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joanna, for a detailed presentation on the initiatives of GIC. Now, may I please request the video that shows the initiative of digital and financial literacy training in which GIC, UNICEF is in partnership and supported by BISP for rolling out this national program. Just few highlights, a very short video on the highlights of the digital and financial literacy training.
इंतजार कर रहे थे कि कब हमें ये मौका मिलेगा कि हमारी ट्रेनिंग होगी और हमें वो कुछ मालूम होना चाहिए जो हमें नहीं मालूम था कैसे करना है और इसमें खर्च में जो है वो आमदनी में इनकम में हमने इसमें बचत कैसे करनी है। हमने सबसे बेसिक चीज जो हमने उसमें बचत सीखी है। बचत को हमने सीख कर है ना इसमें अपनी आमदनी में इजाफा हमने कैसे करना है ये चीज हमने यहाँ
English जेके मूं तव्हांखे हिकिड़ो कल नंबर ॿुधायो हो, जेका तव्हांखे शिकायतूं हुजे त उहे कहिड़े नंबर ते तव्हां कॉल कंदियूं, उहो नंबर मूंखे केरु ॿुधाईंदो? हिकिड़ो मिंट। हा सही आहे, ॿियो केरु ॿुधाईंदो? तव्हां ॿुधायो। हा ॿियो केरु ॿुधाईंदो? ॿियो केरु आहे? हा ॿुधायो तव्हां।
ये जो आपको हर माह पैसे मिल रहे हैं ना, ये आप लोगों को जो है ना गुर्बत से निकालने के लिए है और आपने इसको इन्वेस्ट करना था, जो कि लेडीज को नहीं पता था। अब मुझे आज पता चला है कि ये पैसे दिए ही इसलिए जा रहे हैं कि आप इन्वेस्ट करो ताकि ज़्यादा अर्निंग आपको आए और आप गुर्बत से निकल सको। तो आज की जो हमारी मीटिंग है, इससे मुझे मेरी जो गलत सोच थी वो जो है पॉजिटिविटी में बदल गई है और मैं बहुत खुश हूँ कि और मैं शुक्रगुजार हूँ अल्लाह ताला की और 20 की जिन्होंने आज का जो है एक मीटिंग अरेंज की, जिसमें हमारे तमाम जो है ना पॉजिटिविटी के जो है मौके मिले।
Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Mr. Frank Schneider to open the panelist discussion.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fadia, and thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with you today, this evening. It's an exciting audience, it's an exciting panel, and as we have just introduced, we're going to proceed now to our panel discussion. So please bear with us. And we're a bit pressed for time. As you know, I will quickly introduce the panel, but will then proceed with our one digitally connected speaker. But nonetheless, let me say that we have a very distinguished panel this evening. We have, first of all, Ms. Roshana Zafar, who I hope is connected right now. Where's the digital person? There, over there, wonderful. The founder and managing director of the Cash Foundation. Secondly, we have with us Mr. Salim Ullah. So warm welcome to you, Deputy Governor of the State Bank of Pakistan. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Third, we have Mr. Murtaza Ali, who is the president of JazzCash. Thank you so much for coming. It's a pleasure. And fourth, we have Mr. Ali Shehzad, the CEO of the Punjab Social Protection Authority, PSPA. Wonderful good evening to all of you. Again? We should go ahead. Okay, wonderful. So, good evening, Ms. Roshana Zafar. I hope you can hear us. Thank you so much for joining us. We know that you're very much pressed for time, so we go ahead and ask the first two questions to you. Can you hear us, first of all?
Absolutely. Can you hear me? I
Wonderful.
can also see you, which is
Wonderful.
one.
For joining.
I apologize. I'm on my phone, so you won't be able to see me, but I'm sure you can hear me.
Okay, okay. Perfectly understood. Thank you so much. No, we're going to manage very well. I believe, Ms. Roshana Zafar, as you know, and I believe also the panel will agree to me that the digital transformation is the talk of the town in Pakistan. When you read the newspaper, you will read about JazzCash, Rast, about EasyPaysa. I've just come across the number that digital transactions are now 84% of the total volume of transactions. So the numbers are staggering. And I wonder, regarding your activities, Ms. Roshana Zafar and the Cash Foundation, what role do you see for digital financial services like mobile wallets, as an example, to advance and empower women financially? What opportunities do you see?
Thank you very much. First, my good evening to all the esteemed guests and the panelists as well. I'm sorry, I can't see all of you. I can see you, but you can't see me. But just to add to the points that have been raised here, well, digital financial services, I'll first move a step back. I think we need to really understand what are we looking at. Are we looking at a transaction, or is the debate about transformation? Is it about empowerment, or is it about access and outreach? Is it about quantity, or is it about quality? So I think it's very, very important that we determine where do we stand on this side of the spectrum. If we talk about women's economic empowerment and if we talk about entrepreneurship, then there is a whole, in our experience, and we've been in this space for 30 years and helped over 7 million women with financial services that are integrated and holistic. It is important to see the many elements that go into supporting women's economic empowerment. So the transaction is the beginning, which is what we talk about, whether you transact through online digital access or whether you transact through your frontline staff. It really, the transaction is the first point, and that's probably the easier point. But around this are other concentric circles that need to be considered: the choice, the ability to make decisions, the ability to control income, the ability to have agency. So digital financial services, as I see it, is a way of expanding outreach. It's a way of bringing down costs of financial services access, but it doesn't do away with the need of investing in women's empowerment. So, for example, one of the major challenges we see in the sector across the board, whether we look globally, we design the best products, but at the end of the day, the loans may be pipelined to the men. So unless or until women have agency and voice within their families, and that's where capacity building, that's where financial education, that's where digital literacy, that's where business development trainings will all have to come in. So I don't believe that even if we have the best ecosystem, even if we have the best products, unless or until we work in changing embedded social norms and cultural practices and access, in terms of decision making within women's environment, financial products won't go a long way. So yes, digital financial services can bring down costs. I mean, for example, all of us are piggybacking on JazzCash. Organizations like Kashf, we don't have cash anymore. We've cut out cash. The problem with mobile wallets, you mentioned mobile wallets in particular, and we saw that the earlier presentation, gender access and gender equity as far as formal financial services is concerned, hasn't ratcheted up in Pakistan as in other countries. And it's not just, I don't agree, it's not only just social and taboo related matters, it's also access to telephony. For example, women don't have access to mobile phones. There may be one mobile phone in the family, but it may be owned by the man, and the woman doesn't have access always, and confidentiality gets affected. That's IT access to technology is another issue in low-income families, but that's not the only issue. It's also the transactional costs. For example, in Kashf, in 6 months, we opened over 300,000 mobile accounts of our clients. We did financial literacy, we did digital literacy, we educated them on how to open, how to manage the digital accounts, how to make transfers, how to go to the ADC and manage all of this. Yet they didn't use it. They preferred the cash because there's a huge transactional cost involved in making transactions within digital wallets. So this is something we need to urge all the mobile providers. And the idea was, as competition increases in the sector, we would see costs of transactions going down, but they haven't. So I believe that is one of the major issues. Technology transfer, women getting to learn this is easy also over time. And of course, this has a lot to do with age, younger women, and it also has a lot to do with geography. So women in Lahore may be more inclined to using and having smartphones, while women in Balochistan may not, because the remoteness of your geography determines access as well. But again, if we don't have affordability, people are not going to use this. Then we need to have an ecosystem that supports it. A woman wanting to transfer money to a vendor or pay by online transfer, the trust factor needs to be there too. So there are lots of issues that the ecosystem is still struggling with. So there is potential, but it cannot, for women entrepreneurship, unless or until we invest in the value chain for women. The high touch is, as in our experience, very important to women. They like the frontline staff, the connection with them. They like the physical trainings. So all of those things are very important. Digital can make it affordable over the long run, but it's not a panacea.
Thank you so much. You touched upon a number of issues, and if you allow, related to this, just another quick question. as you rightly said, and I think that's also the impression from the video, financial inclusion is much more than technical knowledge on banking apps and ATMs. It's important, but it's not everything. It's more about empowerment, it's broader skills, it's confidence in the end. So I wonder, looking also at the portfolio of the Cash Foundation, I wonder, what do you do to empower women in a sustainable income generating way to go beyond this classic setup of financial inclusion activities? How do you go further from this?
That's an extremely good question. So the empowerment starts at the first step, and the idea behind women's entrepreneurship is not to antagonize other people in society. So we work with the household. We work with the men in the family. We work with the mother-in-laws. In our context, the mother-in-law is very important. We work with the rest of the decision makers in the family and the female entrepreneur. And we do an assessment of the entire household and the income and what are the cash flows within the household that can support the loan, and what are the cash flows from the business that the woman is investing in. And all of this is also part of a capacity building. So we make business plans with the entrepreneur herself, and we also tag in all the other income that's coming in, so we understand the entire cash flow in the household. This then becomes the first point of contact. However, it doesn't end there. Once the loan is provided, it's provided for the business assessment that we do at the business place of the client. We also do a prospective analysis to see how the business is going to grow. And we advise the client on what are some of the areas that she can improve her business, in terms of future growth. And then we also, as a follow-on, look at the utilization of the loan. Now, the problem begins here. Once the money goes into the household, money is fungible. So as a responsible financier, we sit with the family to make sure that the money is actually invested in the client's business, in her own business. And then within 30 days, we do a financial utilization to see whether the money was spent where it was. And this again makes the whole process very transparent. Then kicks in our capacity building, where we do financial education and we educate the client. And this basic financial education is also done the day before we disperse the loans. So again, we talk about over-indebtedness, which is very important. You should take money for productive enterprises, not to use for consumption. For consumption lending, we have other products. And that's also important. As a financial organization, it's important to know that low-income households have multiple needs. It's not just productive income generation that they need money for. They need it for cash flow management and liquidity management. So within our portfolio, we also offer the client small, accessible, easy consumption-oriented loans that can help them stem over. For example, a client may get a utility bill or an energy bill that they have to pay, but they don't have a lump sum amount. They can come to Cash, withdraw the money if they have a credible position with us. So again, a lot of the loans we develop are based on doing a lot of research. We use a gender lens, and we design these products for women. The women don't have to even leave their homes to get access to Cash loan. And our business development officer goes there. Everything is digitized on a tablet. We do the NADRA verices there and then. We do the MFCIB there and then. We take all pictures that we need within the home. So there's confidentiality and respect. So from a women's perspective, as I was mentioning to you, how you design your products is the first port of call on how you empower them going forward. Once that is done, then we do our trainings, the more detailed trainings, which is the capacity building trainings. There are two tracks. One is the financial education training. This is given to all clients. And then we have a business development training for clients who want to really grow and establish their businesses. This is for graduated clients. So if you are a 2 or 3-year-old client, then we target you and help you start your business. And this is a very interesting training. I call it the Harvard Business School in every community. So this is an 8-week training where we also take the clients to negotiate in the marketplace. Many of our clients are shy or underconfident, and they can't go to the marketplace to negotiate the right terms for their products. So we do mock rehearsals. We take them there, they show their products, and that's how they then gain the confidence to expand their business from their current community to other communities. Then we also have trainings on gender justice
and maternal health. And that's very important because over time we realize poverty alleviation is like a game of snakes and ladders. Unless or until you build contingency, and I heard earlier also that in the earlier presentation that we were talking about climate resilience. I could talk a lot about that too, but I won't go into that. But contingency planning through insurance, and we heard about adaptive insurance earlier, or anticipatory cash transfers. But what I'm mentioning here is actually insurance to manage health risk, because women face three kinds of health risks: communicable, non-communicable diseases, and reproductive health issues. Now, so there's a triple burden of disease on women. So over time, we realized that poverty and health status is very endemically tied. And we designed a women-centric health insurance product, which now covers over 4.5 million individuals across our network. And this has a reproductive cover. So it covers reproductive health, both for normal delivery and for C-section. Now, that's something that we really had to develop with the insurance industry, because generally the insurance industry does not include reproductive health in insurance. So we have a reproductive health training as well. And we also do advocacy work, because mindset change is important. And that includes drama serials. We did one very recently on maternal health and population management, which just ended 2 weeks ago. And we are very grateful to Global Affair Canada for supporting that venture. And that received a lot of accolades, and that talked about girls' education and the population management and maternal health. So advocacy.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lafar. Thank you. That is very inspiring. Thank you so much. We got a lot of impressions from this and a lot to take onwards. Looking at the time, I'm terribly sorry. I feel the urge to move forward, if you allow. It would be such a pleasure to welcome you on stage. So I hope that we really have the opportunity to pick up again and continue this discussion. If you allow, I'm terribly sorry that I would move on to our next panelist, and therefore I would like to now move over and come over to you, Mr. Salim Ullah, Deputy Governor of the State Bank of Pakistan. You know, Mr. Salim Ullah, when we have discussions, technical discussions, when we do our research, we got the impression regarding financial inclusion that a lot of commercial banks are very hesitant, to put it simply, to have the poor segments of the population in their branch offices, basically. So I wonder, did you come across this phenomenon? And more specifically, what are your current efforts at the State Bank of Pakistan to enhance financial inclusion specifically for women?
Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you to SDPI for inviting me in this session. It's a real pleasure to be here. And it was a real pleasure to listen to Rushane after quite some time. And she always talks very sincerely and very professionally with respect to the very topic that we were discussing. You see that financial inclusion, as we also discussed in the opening session, that it has been an issue and challenge for the policymakers, not only in Pakistan, but in most of the developing world. As Helen said in her initial remarks, that all 1 billion women across the globe are not having access to the financial services. And things are not that bright in Pakistan as well. We have been making efforts, but still a lot needs to be done. As we saw in the initial remarks by, I think, Nana, am I rightly pronouncing your name? That we have covered some good distance in the last 7-8 years. In 2016, we were around 15 to 16% of financial inclusion levels. And when I say the financial inclusion levels, that I say with respect to the account ownership. The account ownership in 2016 was around 16%. And right now the account ownership is around 64%. And the women account ownership has also improved significantly. It used to be very, very low, less than 20%. And right now it is 47%. Whereas the account ownership of the male clientele, male adult population is about 81%. Still a 34% gender gap. 34% lesser women adult women are having bank accounts, including these. When I say the bank accounts, these includes all these mobile accounts. And let me say this, that the role of these mobile wallets and the branchless banking accounts and branchless banking agents have been tremendous in this journey towards the improving account ownership. So as far as the account ownership, we have covered a lot of distance. But as far as the financial services are concerned, this is just one kind of financial service. Most of these 64% of the people are having, which is the payment services. But they are not having access to other financial services, including credit, including savings, including investment services. So we need to cover a lot of distance with respect to this. And there is a huge issue of financial literacy, and I'm really glad to see several initiatives that have been taken. We also have been taking a number of initiatives. So I would let me say a few initiatives that we have taken, and we are continuing to improve on those initiatives. One was that we allowed the remote account opening. Earlier, when we allowed this branchless banking mechanism, the public and the consumers are required to visit the agent's premises to get their accounts open. Then we came up with the remote account opening, and that helped a lot. And then this service of AMA, the Asan mobile accounts. The Asan mobile account that allows the consumers that they can open their account just using that USSD channel. That with this *2262# they would be able to dial and get, after entering their CNIC and responding to one or two, three questions, they would be able to open their level 0 account, and the level 0 account they can undertake various digital transactions. They would be required to have that biometric verification within 60 days of the opening of this account. But in these 60 days, they can undertake all their digital transactions up to 50,000 rupees per month of the transactions can be undertaken. Then we have Asan digital accounts. And then there are about 13 banks that are providing these branchless banking facilities and the mobile wallets which are available. And these have made things simpler and convenient for the people, particularly for the low-income clientele. But this is, as I said earlier, this is just the one type of the financial services, which is the payments. But this payment service is something that is making these clients bankable, let me say this. Because before this, this very mobile wallet even, there was no verifiable information available with respect to their cash flows and with respect to their ability to even receive those cash flows. Even based, as we discussed earlier, that still they just visit the branches and take out the cash. So there was no proper bank accounts available, where they can save the funds that they are receiving, not only from this, but from other sources as well. So, but this mobile wallet and these bank accounts are providing that platform whereby these low income segment is developing their cash flow histories. And based on these cash flow histories, they would be able to access other services which are available. Particularly with respect to the women focus, we have been having a huge focus on women empowerment and women in access to women financial inclusion. In 2022, we came up with a very, I think, very effective policy initiative that was a banking on equality. The very objective of that banking on equality was that let's make the overall environment conducive for the woman as a whole and the woman entrepreneur particularly. And with those initiatives, the objective was that one, that we should be able to minimize that gender gap, and gender gap both with respect to the infrastructure that is available to provide the financial services, and then the products and services that are being provided by the financial institutions. There have been huge improvement with respect to, still we need to cover a lot of distance, but there have been huge improvement with respect to this. Then we are making efforts and we are collaborating with MFBs and MFIs so that they should have sufficient liquidity available with them to lend to the microfinance clientele, particularly the microfinance institutions. These microfinance institutions, 70% of their clientele is the women clientele. So what we have, we are collaborating with various stakeholders, including the donors, including the commercial banks. But with respect to the donors, we have made these credit guarantee schemes available and the credit lines available for the microfinance institutions so that they would tap that liquidity facility, both from that credit line as well as from the commercial banks, to lend to their clientele, particularly the MFIs that is having very large, over 70% of their client base as women. So the overall objective and effort is that let's make things an overall ecosystem conducive for the low-income clientele, and particularly for the women clientele, and there is a need for more collaborative efforts. We must synergize efforts. For example, let me quote this, that we have a number of initiatives with respect to the financial literacy and digital financial literacy. So we would love to collaborate with GIZ and with all the relevant UNICEF and all stakeholders so that this collective and collaborative efforts could be undertaken to achieve this very objective. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Before we continue, let me announce the departure of Mr. Amer Ali Ahmed, the Secretary of BISP, who has urgent commitments. So I wanted to thank you again for your participation and hope to catch up very soon and collaborate on these topics. Okay, we do a group photo first. Okay, thank you so much. Now, as we are still pressed for time, I would continue. I hope you still bear with us. And let me now move over to our esteemed panelist, Mr. Murtaza Ali, the president of JazzCash. So I said right at the beginning that JazzCash is at the forefront of Pakistan's digital revolution, as people say, in finance, in banking. It has achieved an impressive outreach in Pakistan. Congratulations for this. We are all following this from every angle. And I believe in our previous discussions, we also consider that you get a lot of requests, right? A lot of people want to partner with you on sort of see how we can collaborate. So therefore, I wonder how in your strategies, in your policy making, in your plans ahead, how do you look into the issue of women's financial inclusion and what are your plans to expand financial access for women in Pakistan?
No, thank you very much. And thank you very much for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to be here with this distinguished panel. So in JazzCash, what we have been aiming is to improve the lives and livelihoods of people of Pakistan, but we over-index the improvements, the financial literacy improvements in the women's sector. while we have done a lot of effort and we are really proud of the penetration of our women customers, which is about 30%, but our aim is to basically increase this to about 50%, which is actually the right gender balance in the population as well. And the journey has been very rewarding in terms of understanding what it takes to grow this number and how do we actually provide the best services to women specifically in those areas where obviously the banking services are not there. So now, we also realize the fact that there are less than 20,000 ATMs in Pakistan and even lower number of branches. So probably to solve this issue, we think the brick and mortar system would not work. So the answer is obviously we'll have to go digital. And by getting digital, I think we will be able to expand to the millions of women who are not currently financially inclusive. And then therefore, we kept on learning the process in terms of how do we really provide the solutions. For instance, so first of all, why would a woman not open a bank account? Although I agree there is a need for a financial literacy, but let me tell you, our experience is that they are great financial managers. So women actually understand the financial management better than men in most of the cases. So it is a great starting point. So then what's the problem holding them back? So there are multiple, and I think we've discussed about some of the social barriers, but I think the biggest among them is in terms of they are not the first ones to get the latest financial mobile handsets, right? So they are generally, most of them, at least in the sectors that we work or in the constituencies that we work, they are still using the feature phones. Then we thought probably the literacy is not the problem with these women. I think there is a lack of literacy at the males who are actually in the same household. So we started creating ads which are financial literacy for men to how to empower financial inclusion for women. So we started asking them questions, who is actually running the entire household? Who is actually going for groceries? Who is paying the salaries to the maids and everyone? And obviously it's the women. So if they can run the household, they can also run the mobile financial services, right? Very easily. So they can actually operate a bank account. So from there, then so I think the first part of the issue was relatively easier, where obviously we were giving them access to the financial inclusion, or obviously the mobile wallet opening was actually solved. But then we realized there is a significant amount of churn in this segment because they open the bank account, but they're not using it as effectively as some of the male counterparts. And then we also realize if we have to replace the cash wallets with mobile financial wallet, we have to create the use cases which are relevant for them. And with the help of State Bank's initiative of RAS, P2M, so we are creating those payment points and the payment touch points. We've created about 350,000 merchants across Pakistan, which are now accepting the RAS enabled QRs. So when they go to the grocery store for buying something, there is an availability of payment use case for them. And then also in terms of all the saving options and with the financial, as Salimullah Saab just mentioned, I think with all the transactions that they do, they have access to the higher working capital funding needs or whatever we can actually start giving it to them. So all those learnings put together, we realize, I think at the end of the day, what we have to create for them is actually use cases which are relevant. We went to the extent of working with MasterCard to issue Pakistan's first women debit card, where obviously there are they are insured for a lot of different health benefits that women can actually get, and obviously the peculiar health issues are solved. And obviously we started doing that, and then also in terms of how to reaching out to them, some of the social barriers doesn't allow the male staff that we have for the customer acquisition to go and go house to house and obviously start knocking on their doors. So obviously we realized then we started creating 5 different workforces full of women, obviously in terms of who can actually go and reach out to them and talk to them and maybe actually have a more face-to-face dialogue in terms of what is important for them. So we're learning in the process, and also we are implementing new and innovative ways in terms of how we can actually make it easier for them. And also on the feature phones, then we and EasyPaisa, which is our competition. Obviously, we are blessed to have USSD solution where they can, irrespective of whether they have the smartphone or not, they can easily also access the USSD services and still have a banking account, also together with Ama's initiative of State Bank again. So these are some of the things that we are trying to now offer. And but also I think it's equally important to create women merchants. because that's also something that we created about 28,000 merchants. So these, and obviously there we are working with central bank in terms of understanding and creating some of the relaxations in some of the regulations that we have. So for instance, a home chef could actually be a brilliant merchant for us. And obviously, how do we create easiness for her in terms of maybe she is still mobile, but actually how we can actually create the KYC and AML requirements easier for her in terms of opening those merchant related bank accounts and a home tutor or those kind of. And so we work with some of the associations like Behbood, where some of the artisans, we are bringing them on board. The great artisans, obviously, they also feel the benefit of the security of their funds. So I've talked to some of the women, obviously, who are getting the salaries at the end of the month, and immediately the entire money is being taken over by their husbands. So now they have started to actually now save their money, and obviously now they're investing in the education of the children. So obviously a lot of good thing happens when we obviously provide the financial access to these women. So they actually change the entire livelihoods of their families and their children's, obviously their better education access as well. So a lot of good things can happen with this financial inclusion, in my opinion.
Thank you so much. That's really exciting to hear, and we hope we can partner and work on these issues. I believe that will really make not only a difference, but it will indeed revolutionize Pakistan. So very happy to be part of this trajectory. Now, I would also like to involve Mr. Ali Shehzad, who is the CEO of the Punjab Social Protection Authority. And I believe you would agree when I say that the PSPA is often pioneering social protection reforms, interventions in Pakistan, and elaborates policies that get replicated elsewhere in other parts of the country. So you're very much at the forefront of developments. So therefore, I wonder, what are the unique approaches PSPA is adopting to make sure that programs do benefit women, that they are accessible to women, and that they make a difference even in rural and underserved, as we call it, underdeserved communities?
Thank you very much, Frank. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks to SDPI and GIZ and all the partners for having us and talk about this very important issue. You're very right. PSPA has always adopted and sort of followed the model, keeping in mind that the investments made at the gender level, the investment made to the women are the most beneficial in the long term in eradicating poverty and in developing the human capital. And we have various programs where we prefer women as our beneficiaries. For example, our old age program, we select people, but if a person is above a certain age and below a certain poverty score, then we still prefer if in that household we are selecting a female head of the household as the primary beneficiary. Similarly, we have programs which are aimed at alleviating the poverty or the gaps, primarily targeting the females as well. Our Zevre Taaleem program, the conditional cash transfer program with around 1.2 million beneficiaries, is aimed at promoting education in the young school-going girls of the grades between 6 to 10. And similarly, we have our Aghosh program, which is under the Punjab Human Capital Investment Project, which is once again has around 1 million beneficiaries, all of them who are women. So taking a look at our interventions and designing them from a gender lens is the foremost thing which I think the PSPA does when planning about when rolling out or envisaging any new program. Secondly, we are also in the process of initiating some flagship projects of the current government. One of them is the Provincial Socioeconomic Registry, which is the first ever socioeconomic registry at the provincial level. And we are hoping to, it is sort of in the pipeline, it's at the design stage, and partial piloting phases have been rolled out. But we're looking forward to having a socioeconomic registry which not only captures the limited indicators, but it serves as an integrated decision support system for all decisions taken by the government and all the investments made in the development sector. At the same time, for example, we just partnered up with Jazz Cash actually as our new payment service provider for our programs. And this time around, for the first time, we have made our wallets to accrue interest. They're going to be savings wallets. And we are hoping that this is one major step towards financial inclusion and promoting the savings in general, because most of our beneficiaries are women. So while we do that, we have other programs which specifically target women and inculcate financial literacy and financial inclusion. One of them is the Bunyad program, and then there is the Khud Mukhtar program, which means independent in English, and in which we are targeting young couples. The young couples are all, we open, the major beneficiaries are women, and once again, the assets are transferred in the name of the women, and they are imparted labor market readiness. They imparted labor market readiness trainings and financial literacy trainings. So the PSPA always looks at its social protection initiatives from a gender lens. But one thing that I would sort of like to highlight here is that I've discussed and I've listened the other participants and panelists discuss these issues. So removing barriers so far as the financial inclusion is concerned and promoting digital financial inclusion in that sense, that the State Bank puts in place products, and it is holding trainings, and it is making AMA and the ADA available for women as well as men. So that is one thing. But at the same time, like Roshane mentioned, that there is a significant cost, which is a part of the digital transactions. So one of the things that could be done, and I would taking the opportunity of having the Deputy Governor of the State Bank here, is that we should not only remove barriers, but we should incentivize digital transactions. And we could do that by one of the steps that I have in mind is that for all the G2P transactions, that all the wallets that we have under BISP and Punjab Social Protection Authority and the Sindh Social Protection agencies, we could do something to actually, incentivize by dropping the fees or waiving off the fees of certain transactions if they are made from those particular accounts. We could also sort of bump up those digital wallets to AMA status, which makes savings possible and other financial inclusion mechanisms possible as well. So that's something that, and that's where I would stop, and I would let other panelists come in. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ali Shehzad. You probably want to give a very short, precise and crisp answer to what.
Thank you so much. And this fee aspect was also raised by Roshane as well. So let me say this: by the time the wallets are being used for digital payments, there is absolutely no fee, because Rast is absolutely free, and with that Rast, you can make all your payments, particularly these mobile wallets. Be it the wallet, say for example, Jazz Cash, it was always free. But even Jazz Cash to Easy Paisa or Easy Paisa to other mobile wallets, by the time you are making digital payments, it's absolutely free. If the fee is involved when the wallet holder goes to the agent and gets the cash. When the cash is taken, then the agent has to maintain certain liquidity, and to maintain that liquidity, obviously that agent is incurring certain cost. So that's why some cost is involved. A very important point in 30 seconds is that we all are working, and we are working with the stakeholders, that let's develop that ecosystem whereby these mobile wallet holders, they have minimum probability of getting the cash out. They should be having that ecosystem whereby whether they are going to the grocery stores, whether they are going to purchase certain input for for the business that they are undertaking, whatever they are doing, that ecosystem is enabling them that through their mobile wallet, they can make that payment. And that the availability of RAST, which is our instant payment system, that is giving us that platform, that opportunity that we can promote these digital payments. So by the time it would remain digital, there will be no fee at all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are almost about to draw to close. We have one more item on the agenda. And excuse me, when, preparing such a high-level event, it's usually good conduct, I should explain, to send out the questions in advance, obviously, so the speakers know. So therefore, I hope it's not offensive if I ask one additional question, which hasn't been agreed with you beforehand. But, this is a panel on women's financial inclusion. And I allow you one sentence. Maybe, Johanna, you can start only one sentence as an answer. What should we do from today onwards to engage men to make financial decision-making more equal? Do you have it?
I don't know. I think for me, it's really reaching out to people that I know and asking them about their families and their homes and whether both of them have bank accounts, which is something that I have done in preparation of this meeting as well. So just having an in-depth discussion with people around me here in Pakistan that are not in my working environment. Thank you.
So I think it's a tricky question. And I think we think that by including the women financially, we will empower them. But perhaps it's the other way around. Perhaps empowerment then would beget the financial inclusion that we are trying to achieve. And so we have to look at the problem from both ends. And then, of course, involving men is absolutely critical given our male dominant society. And I think it's a function of time. I think we are progressing towards that, but it's not something which we can achieve overnight. We will achieve it. The important thing is that we must be progressing, and we must be progressing at a pace that is satisfactory. And I think we are progressing. We need to work on our pace.
Okay. You're allowed to pause.
Oh, this was very smart, Abid. It's a very good question. And maybe as we're doing also peer exchange when we talk to other capacity building instruments, maybe we can have some peer exchange also between men to talk openly about habits, about culture, about where they're coming from, what they want to achieve. So maybe to have an open and frank discussion.
So to me, this is a cultural transformation, and we must work. I would agree with my colleague from PSA that it will not be achieved overnight, but our goal should be very clear that we are empowering women. Rather, let's say this, we are empowering families, and we'll have to have that message to the male members that what sort of value it will bring to the family when the women would be empowered, when the women would be more productive with respect to, and more independent with respect to the family decisions and with respect to the financial decisions, what kind of improvement it's going to have on the overall well-being of the family, what kind of impact it will have on the kids' education, on the overall nutrition levels of the kids. So that message has to be conveyed in a very professional manner, so that we are not going there to offend the male members, but rather we need to have their ownership, their partnership, their collaboration, so that they are our partners with respect to achieving that very objective. So it's a cultural transformation. It will need a lot of effort, focus, and very clear initiative and strategies. Thank you.
So I think first of all, I completely agree that the financial inclusion in the women's segment will happen also. The major impact would also be caused through the financial understanding of men in terms of why this is important for the woman or the entire family as a whole. So we have created some material in terms of education for the men in terms of what is the real benefit they can tangibly see. But I also agree with some of the panel members who have actually said that I think they also need to we need to also see in terms of how we can incentivize the behavior of or we actually remove the perceived convenience of cash, right? So and obviously they think and the men actually thinks that giving the cash or using the cash in the home or home related payments actually is less convenient and the digital is more convenient. If we can actually create this kind of a understanding or make the perception actually go away of having the convenience of handling cash, I think that will be a big win, and I think majority of the financial inclusion will happen on its own. Right.
Thank you so much.
So beyond the technical aspects, I believe that we need male champions to support the women financial inclusion agenda. But more than that, we need women trailblazers in these spaces. There's a renowned Broadway musical, The Room Where It Happens. And the character keeps on saying, I want to be in the room where it happens. We need more women in the room where it happens.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I can't agree more. And with this, I would like to thank you a lot for this exciting panel. It has been a pleasure. Also to our virtual colleague. And I would now like to hand over back to Dr. Faria for the moderation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank, and the distinguished panelists for a very productive discussion. I would now like to invite Ms. Maria Jose Podeh, the country director of GIZ Pakistan, for the closing remarks. Ma'am, please.
Yes, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of GIZ Pakistan, it has been a great pleasure and honor to be with you today. And thank you so much for this inspiring and interesting event, which is called Women's Financial Inclusion in Pakistan. I especially like the last discussion and panel discussion and jumping in and not being so formal, but a little bit flexible. And I would like also to thank Mr. Amer Amit Ali, Secretary from the Benazir Income Support Program, for your collaboration and your support to enhance BISP in the financial literacy for female recipients. I would also like to thank Mrs. Sadaf Zulfikar for the excellent partnership for the joint implementation of the financial literacy training at BISP, and Dr. Faria Amurgan, we met yesterday, for providing scientific support to the baseline study on financial inclusion for BISP recipients. And finally, of course, I would like to express gratitude to our wonderful and honorable panelists for demonstrating that our cooperation between government stakeholders, academia, and international partners delivers the right strategy for women's financial inclusion. I'm very glad to see and hear from you that we can jointly develop the right instruments to enhance women's access to financial services, and that women economic empowerment benefits Pakistan growth overall. But we have also seen that when we look at the financial inclusion indicators, there's some room for improvement, and that women still are disadvantaged in borrowing, saving, and accessing digital payment systems. So unfortunately, only 13% of Pakistani women have their own bank account, compared to 28% of men. So the ability and the possibility for women to independently maintain money, spend money, conduct transitions, and get paid for their work and control their financial resources is severely compromised. This is mainly because of their engagement with the formal banking channels is mostly through male household members. These circumstances are missed opportunities for a sustainable development of Pakistan. So this is why GIZ is supporting and very much engaged in working in equal opportunities and rights for all individuals. So we don't see it only at project level, but we see it also in our own organization. So GIZ defines itself as part of a feminist development cooperation, as outlined by Lena Paust from the German embassy today. So we do have very good experiences with this successful approach. So we have many examples showing that GIZ works with its partners to strengthen the rights, representation and resources of women and girls in all their diversity with the aim of overcoming gender-based disadvantages and discrimination. So we had some interesting questions today, thanks also for the colleagues preparing this. We do have some ideas of how we can further enhance women's financial inclusions. There are basically 3 ideas I would like to present. So the first one would be, let's provide more know-how on women's financial inclusion and successful approaches in Pakistan. So GIZ has partnered with UNICEF to implement a large-scale financial literacy training for recipients of BISP. So this will benefit 350,000 women until the end of this year. And we have also asked SDIPI to provide a thorough scientific evaluation. And we're also very excited that against this background, we will launch the Center of Adaptive Social Protection and Economic Empowerment. So this center will streamline our work and boost effort. And I think this is a wonderful initiative. And I hope we can learn from the experience and together with BISP to roll out more financial literacy trainings in Pakistan. Idea number 1, let's develop solutions for digital inclusion. Pakistan digital landscape, as we have seen, is transforming, offering many opportunities for women to take control of their finances. The technical expertise in Pakistan Premier Mobile financial services provider JazzCash and the appraisal-backed individual learning developed by the Cash Foundation are 2 excellent examples for solutions, for hands-on solutions that make a difference for women difference to women in Pakistan. So let's boost the adoption of the solution for higher numbers and financial inclusion. So idea number 3, let's not only manage change, but also design change. So moving from digital payment solutions to banking and saving requires knowledge, capital, and smart minds. So as you all know, this is a very complex and huge challenge. So we need to work holistically. Let us draw on extensive implementation experience from around the world, and let us balance diverse interests to provide entry points for the private sector and also civil society. So GIZ has proven record of acting as an honest broker while helping decision makers accomplish their political objectives. So we are ready to assist you and your endeavor towards greater financial inclusion for women in Pakistan. So I do believe that this event and the exchange of ideas and meeting people and meeting also new colleagues will enable us to create and to continue a path forwards greater financial inclusion for women in Pakistan and a greater gender equality overall. So as GIZ, as I was mentioning, we are very excited to be part of this journey, and we stand ready for a more stable and just society in Pakistan. So thank you very much and have a good evening. Thank you.
Would now like to invite Executive Director, STPI, Dr. Abid Qiyum Suleri, for the vote of thanks and closing remarks from STPI side. Sir, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, honorable panelists, and of course, my team, STPI. First of all, Fariha, congratulations for the launch of your new center that would be dedicated for social protection and evidence-based social protection. You might have seen here Center for Adaptive Social Protection and Economic Empowerment. So this is a new center who will be starting at STPI that Dr. Priya would be leading. And the purpose is to actually look at this whole issue of social protection, the whole issue of women empowerment, the whole issue of fiscal inclusion from a multi-sectoral and a multidisciplinary angle. First, the second thing I wanted to say, while I was hopping on and off from this room, I was not showing my disrespect to this discussion that was going on. There is a plenary going on in the auditorium as well on regenerative agriculture and innovation. And we had Minister for Food Security and Industries over there. So I had to be with him, and then I had to be here, receive him, be with him, see him off, and then come here. But this multitasking is the answer of your question that you asked me. You see, when we're talking of how we can empower women and how we can sensitize men and how we can create more gems, the gender empowered men, I think we need to think it in not from the perspective that any single department, any single intervention, any single government, any single actor can actually do it. It can't be done that way. I not only do this multitasking, I also wear multiple hats. So as a head of STPI, when I go through all the research and when we conduct research, I get sensitized about the extent of gender disparity and the gender exclusion that is prevailing in this country. When I sit in Prime Minister's Climate Change Council, I can link our research finding with climate change policies, how climate change is actually disproportionately and differently affecting men and women and children and different other segments of society. When I sit as a member board of directors of NDRMF, I can actually then give my input in NDRMF project, how we can bring this women empowerment segment in disaster management and disaster preparedness so that the dignity of being a woman, that doesn't get compromised in any disaster, around disaster and after disaster. When I sit as in the BISP board and we look at how we can improve the efficiency of Benazir Income Support Program, that's where perhaps then I can bring in the whole angle of digital transition and the women inclusion. And that's where, Deputy Governor Sahab, we have been discussing a lot about this payment that banks they are charging. And I think Secretary Sahab and must have spoken to you on our behalf. Board recommended very strongly that in order to the charges that the banks are charging for opening accounts of women, we either need to approach the parliament or we need to come to State Bank of Pakistan. We really feel that for the social protection money, in order to open the accounts of women, banks, they shouldn't charge their account maintenance fee that is not being paid by beneficiaries right now, but it is paying by Benazir Income Support Program. And that money can actually be channelized to cover more beneficiaries. And lastly, when I sit in the Board of Governors of NSPP, National School of Public Policy, that's where all the bureaucrats, they get their trainings for their promotions. Again, we make sure that this subject gets included in the curriculum for a senior management course and national management course. So the point I'm trying to make that it's a continuous effort and it's the effort of all multiple stakeholders. So if we have to sensitize men, if we have to empower women, if we have to think of inclusive policies, we have to sensitize. And I just gave you example of 5-6 departments or 5-6 boards which can play its role, and then this number multiplies. There are more than 24 actors and factors that I can readily think of, and I can prepare a list who need to join their heads and hearts and start thinking about how they should not, or they cannot contradict each other's efforts. So right now, the objective is not to strengthen or enforce our efforts. Right now, the objective is to stop contradicting each other's efforts that we are doing in our individual silos, because we are just focusing on what our individual TORs are and what our individual short-term goals are. So let's make an effort to collate it. And I think today's panel was one of that struggle and one of that effort. So let's collate our efforts. And the first goal should be that we should not contradict each other's efforts. And the second, and the medium to long-term goal should be how we can strengthen women empowerment. And STPI and the News Center and the team, they're very willing and they are on your disposal, to GIZ, to State Bank, to BISP, to everywhere where this agenda can be brought forward. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us here. And thank you very much, all of you, for enlightening on this agenda.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abid Suleri, Executive Director, STPI. And now we open the floor for questions. However, in the interest of time, we would appreciate if we can have a few questions. We are all, can we take questions from the audience? Please. Can we forward the mic? Kindly, please identify yourself, and if you can put forth the question to the panelist.
Hello. Oh, all right, great. Assalamu alaikum. This is Arham from National Defense University. As a student of public policy, I am so glad to see the efforts SDPI is doing. Props to them. The efforts the GIZ is doing and the German government is doing. Props to them as well. And this is such a noble cause that is often at times neglected within the policy circles. And it's really great to see that BISP and all these other institutions are getting together. My question here is with regards to implementation failures, necessarily in the government of Pakistan. We see that policies are made, input is given, recommendations are given, but there are many times where implementation fails. So how exactly is the SBP or all these other institutions going to cater to the lack of digital literacy or the technical facilities that are required to ensure that women are included, more specifically in the rural areas? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. As I said earlier, that there is a need for collaboration. And as Suleri said, that we must complement each other's efforts rather than we are duplicating efforts and not having the best outcome of the resources and efforts that are being deployed. When we will collaborate and have a sort of a consensus and a joint strategy and explicitly defined rules, then things would improve. And let me say at this forum that we would love to work with the SPDI, with the News Center, so that collaborative with GIZ as well. We are already working on a number of initiatives, so that collaborative effort of women empowerment could be achieved. We are already working with BISP as well. And let me say, to take this opportunity to say this, that as far as the banks are concerned, in the new model, we are bringing each and every bank to the service of the BISP beneficiaries. It is a regulatory mandate given to the banks that they must entertain the BISP beneficiaries, which are the women beneficiaries, over 9 million beneficiaries. And not a single penny would be charged from them. It would be only, the fee would be, for example, if they are being issued the ATM card, there is some fee of 400, 500 rupees that they need to pay to the agencies from where they are getting those ATM cards. Only that would be charged. Similarly, if there are certain fees that are paid to NADRA, we even requested NADRA that they should also eliminate their fee, and we would love these beneficiaries to be serviced with respect, with dignity, and they should be able to have access to all the financial services. That is our objective. We are starting a pilot from January, inshallah, and then with the implementation of the pilot, then it will be rolled out across the country.
Thank you very much. Do we have another question? Please, sir.
My name is Engineer Wasim Abbasi. When we talk about women's empowerment, financial empowerment, then obviously the best way to empower women is through employment. So in Pakistan, currently, if we see the workforce proportion of male and female, so obviously in workforce, male is dominating. How is it possible that this ratio could be made 50-50? Is it possible? And what is the strategy to promote women employment more and more up to the level of male?
Sure, please.
So as far as the state bank and financial sector is concerned, we announced that banking on equality in 2022. And the objective was that let's minimize the gender gap. And with respect to that, the banks were given target that by 2025 or 24, they would be having at least 20% of their workforce as the female workforce. At that time, they were around 12-13%. Right now, they are around 16-17%. They have, in these last 2.5 years, you would see that overwhelmingly, the bulk of the inductions that have been made, it is through the female employees and the women employees. And in State Bank, we have the target that we will be having this gender balance 30% by 2030, by 2028. Right now, we are at 18%. We used to be at 14% 2.5 years back. And we did a number of initiatives. For example, we took one special female batch of 50 officers just to meet those targets. So we are focusing on that very objective, that let's create that gender balance. It's a very gigantic task that we have assumed that by 2028, we will be having 30%. Still, we are making efforts. In our regular batch, which we induct about 40 to 50 people every year, almost 40 to 50% female are being inducted. But still, we are making our policies generally positively biased towards and creating an environment where more and more women could be inducted in the State Bank and in the financial sector.
Thank you so much for this question. So also at GIZ, we do have different goals and aims to put in more women into our organization, and not only at the advisor level, but also at the management and top management level. So we've been constantly working on that. And one maybe minor example, what we do, to have a look at that, we do invite women to the interviews. And we do have a gender advisor. Also, we have 2 gender advisors here in GIZ Pakistan, and inviting those colleagues also to the interviews to make the right questions. So there are a few possibilities how to how to do it and to see what women or families and then also men would need that women can enter into organization and work, because it's a more like an holistic issue to have this possibility of women working, and not only in their own countries, but also going abroad and taking into consideration security aspects, etc.
If I may, I would like to just seize the opportunity before everybody vanishes to just pick up on what Mrs. Maria Podai and Abid Soleri have mentioned in their closing remarks, which is the CASPI Center of Adaptive Social Protection and Economic Empowerment. We're very happy to launch this with you, and maybe we could just have a picture of Mr. Abid Soleri and Maria Podai on the stage to really initiate the launch of this center, which we hope will help us to carry on these very fruitful discussions and deliberations that we've had here today, and engage all of you in discussions on how to improve the financial inclusion agenda for women. Thank you very much, and congratulations once again, Dr. Faria.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, the distinguished panelists and the esteemed audience, for your participation. Thank you. Extremely grateful.